Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Tabitha and I am the maker and creator behind Safari Stitches, and I do a lot of videos like studio vlogs, market prep, market vlogs and recaps, and all sorts of other fun crafty things. So if that sounds good to you, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We are on our way to my next milestone, which is 5K. We are quite a bit away. We just hit 1K over the holidays, which was a super crazy milestone. A giveaway is coming. It's probably already passed at this point by the time this video goes up. But if you are one of the first 1,000 subscribers to my channel, I just want to say thank you so much for your support and the love that I have received on YouTube so far. I can't believe I was able to grow my channel in 3 months to 1K subscribers. So thank you again from the bottom of my heart. That said, today is the long-awaited Etsy versus Shopify video that I have been talking about probably for I mean, it's genuinely probably been about a month since I first mentioned that I would like to do a video like this. And I wanted to make sure that I was doing the video justice, and even as I sit here recording this intro right now, I don't know that I have really done this video justice, so there may be second, maybe third parts down the line. But today's video is really going to cover both platforms, and I'm going to talk about the pros and the cons for each platform. And then at the very end of the video, I'm going to talk about basically what I recommend depending on where you are at in your business journey. Now, I am going to preface this video by saying that this entire video is purely my opinion. I'm not sponsored by either Etsy. I don't even know if they sponsor people to promote their platform because they've got a budget to do that. But I'm definitely not, I am not sponsored by Shopify. That is the platform I use and the platform I will be talking about today. There are several other website hosting platforms like Wix, Big Cartel, I believe, is one. You can build your own website manually without using a host like Shopify. There's just a lot of information out there. I really encourage you, if you do decide to go the route of building your own website, do some research on your end. I have tried Wix personally, and I lean more towards Shopify, and I'm not really going to get into that right now because this video is not about Wix. But definitely look into, there's tons of videos, blogs, and all sorts of information out there to help you decide which platform is best for you as far as building your own website. So like I said, today is going to be pros and cons of both Etsy and Shopify, and then at the very end I will give you my opinion. Again, I'm going to reiterate, it's my opinion. I know everybody has different opinions about using Etsy specifically. Take all of this information with a grain of salt and make your own decisions and what's best for you. These are purely based off of my own experiences because I've been using both for years. Shopify with various different types of businesses, including a clothing boutique and a blog, as well as what I use it for now, which is my crochet business. And then obviously Etsy I've been on since 2021, I think I opened my shop. No, it was 2020. It was during COVID. I opened my shop and I sold something different from crochet products before. So again, take all of this with a grain of salt. It's my opinion, my experiences alone. This is not influenced by outside sources at all. If you have a differing opinion, I fully respect it. Feel free to have a productive conversation in the comments if you would like to. Should it get a little bit too rowdy, that will be cut off very quickly. So just keep in mind, please be respectful in your comments. Do not attack me. Honestly, I don't really care if you, I do care if you have different opinions and I respect your different opinions, but please don't attack me for mine. I will not attack you for yours. Okay, all of that to say, if I'm looking off to the side, it's because I have a document up here that's literally stock full of notes, and I'm going to be referencing that just to make sure that I don't miss anything, because I want to make sure that I try to hit as many points as I possibly can with this video specifically. we're gonna start off talking about Etsy because I feel like Etsy is kind of a hot topic, and now that we are in 2025 officially, I know there's a lot of people that have set a goal to start their own business in 2025, and I know Etsy is a really big hot topic, especially with the changes that they have made recently. Well, I say recently, over the past like year or two with fees and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna start with Etsy, and we're going to talk about pros and cons of the Etsy platform itself. So Etsy is a large company and a website where individual users can create accounts and they can open up their own business, list their items for sale, and ship to their customers and whatever. It is intended for a handcrafted space. It's handcrafted vintage, which is, I have thoughts about the vintage aspect of Etsy, but I'm not going to get into that either. But it's handcrafted items, supplies to make handcrafted items. So you're looking at crafting tools like pliers, resin supplies, polymer clay. You can buy yarn, you can buy all sorts of stuff on Etsy as long as it falls within those categories of vintage, a handmade finished product, or a supply that can be used to make a handmade product. They can all be sold on Etsy. You can do print on demand on Etsy as well. I do not personally do print on demand. I view print on demand as drop shipping, which I also don't think should be allowed on Etsy. Again, please don't come for me in the comments about that opinion. It's my opinion. Oops, sorry. I moved my foot and kicked my tripod. I digress. So basically that is kind of like the overall theme of what Etsy is. So some of the pros is that you don't really need any prior knowledge of running a business necessarily to start up an Etsy. It's super easy. You create your account, you enter in all your information, you link your bank account or your payment service where you want to get paid to, and you basically open up a store. You don't have to have any code knowledge. You don't have to have any web design experience. There's no technical experience needed other than knowing how to fill out basic information online. And then obviously uploading photos, you need to know how to do that. But it's all extremely basic knowledge needed to start an Etsy account in an Etsy store. I'm going to go through the pros first if you haven't picked up. So on Etsy, you technically do not have to drive traffic to your store. They have their own built-in algorithm that, as long as you understand how their search engine works and the best way to optimize your listings, you don't have to really do anything to bring people to your listing. Now, I am going to say I am not going to go super in-depth on Etsy SEO in this video. There's also a lot of information out there on how to optimize your listings. If you do decide to go the Etsy route, definitely look at all of that information as you start to build your store on Etsy. I am not going to go into it. If you don't understand SEO, then that is like a whole other monster. But technically, you do not need to drive traffic to your Etsy shop. Pro number 3 is that they have a customer base that is built into their website already that is primed to buy and pay a premium for handcrafted items. Not very many platforms can boast that, and it is very widely well-known platform, Etsy is, in general. So people have a certain level of trust with Etsy already, knowing hey, this company's been around for a while, it's well known for the handcrafted goods, and that is definitely a pro for Etsy. Pro number 4 is, as I mentioned earlier, it is very easy to list items for sale. You take your photos, type out your title, description, fill out all the information, and hit post, and it automatically builds you a product page. You don't, again, no technical expertise is needed to do this. You just literally take photos and post it. Pro number 5 is you get discounted shipping labels. Etsy has, I guess, some type of negotiated deal with the post office, USPS. I don't really venture outside of USPS through Etsy, so I can't speak for like UPS, FedEx, or that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, I believe across all of their shipping labels, you do get a percentage discount on the retail rates for shipping. Pro number 6 is there is easy order management in the back end of Etsy. So when you do get an order through Etsy, they have a single page that lists all of your orders in the order that they are received. So you can see basically when the order was placed, when it needs to be shipped. But it's really easy to see what has come in, what was purchased, and you can buy bulk labels. So you can literally select, like if you have something really easy, let's just say stickers that all use the same type of packaging, you can literally select all of those orders and purchase the labels all in one go. So you don't have to go individual order, like buy individual orders to fill out like forms and weights and all that kind of stuff. Water break. Another pro to Etsy is that any money, once the money has cleared and is available for deposit, it will automatically deposit into your payment option of choice. I have mine direct deposited into my bank account, so I don't have to worry about a middleman, and you can choose how frequently you want that. I highly recommend you get deposits more frequently rather than less frequently, because I have heard some horror stories, and this is going to be one of the cons later on, but if your account does happen to get shut down, they may not give you your money. So definitely, I do mine weekly. You could potentially, I think you can set it up to do it even more frequently than a week, but I don't make enough sales on Etsy at the current moment to really garner the need to deposit more frequently than every week. So again, that's a decision that you can make on your own. There's an easy way under your payment account. You can set the frequency there, but it goes directly into your bank account. You don't have to wait. Mine usually takes around 24 hours once they send the money to direct deposit, and you get instant access to your, well, I say instant access, you get what I mean. Next is the Etsy buyer and seller protection. This can potentially be a negative for some sellers, but I have always had a pretty pleasant experience. Usually if somebody has an issue, I'm able to resolve it myself anyways, but I have had instances where packages have gone missing and have never been delivered, and Etsy does cover some of those like lost packages as long as you can prove that it was shipped and that the tracking is not updating and you are out the item. But again, that could potentially be a con, so. All right, let's get into the cons. So again, these are all my opinion. If you have any other comments or pros, cons, whatever, feel free to drop them in the comments, but please be respectful. If people start commenting back to you, please do not take this opportunity to jump down people's throats. I will immediately stop it. I will be keeping an eye on the comments. So here are my personal cons for Etsy. So number 1 and the biggest con that I have is, and this goes back to what I was talking about before about your shop getting shut down, Etsy is not your own website. It is not yours. You have no control over anything to do with Etsy except for what gets posted, and even then you don't have control over it because the listing could be removed. So you don't really have any control over your Etsy account with that respect. So you aren't really building brand loyalty. So people, and a good way to look at it is if somebody goes to your shop on Etsy and they purchase something from you, you can put any materials in the package. Like I usually include a business card that has like a QR code that you can scan to get to all of my information. I also include it printed on the back of the business card, but customers don't always keep that stuff, and they certainly do not always put that in their wallet and carry it around with them. So if, let's just say you sell jewelry and you made a really pretty necklace for somebody and they're out wearing it and somebody says, "Oh my gosh, I love your necklace, where did you get it?" What are the odds that they're going to remember your shop name? They're just going to say, "Oh, I got it on Etsy," right? Because that's easy to remember. They may by chance remember your shop name. They may have your business card on them at the time. Who really knows? But either way, you're not really building brand loyalty. So people don't really know where your items are coming from. It's just a natural thing that people are going to be like, oh yeah, I got it on Etsy, you know? So that is one of my biggest cons to Etsy, is the brand loyalty is not there. The second con is, since it isn't your site, you're essentially renting space from somebody else. So this just kind of falls in line. Even though you're not paying a subscription fee or anything like that, you are technically renting space on somebody else's website. So let's just say theoretically Etsy were to shut down, all of your stuff is gone. That's it. Or if Etsy decided that you were no longer compliant, which I'm not going to get into Etsy's rules and guidelines and their terms of service and all that. You can look that up and read it on your own. But if they suddenly decide like, hey, this person is not acting, or if you don't fulfill your orders on time and you're having a lot of stuff go out late, like they can say, hey, they're not running their business up to our standards, and they can shut your shop down. And that's simply because you are technically renting space from them and they have a right to shut your website down. Con number 3 are the fees. This is, again, a hot topic amongst the, I guess, ex-Etsy users and even current Etsy users, including myself. Let me just give you a breakdown of what the fees are. They can add up quite a lot, so I always recommend people use an Etsy calculator. There's tons of them online where you can plug in numbers and figure out how much profit you're going to make. And part of this con is that their fees can adjust based on what you have turned on and off. So let me give you a breakdown. I'm going to read through this. This is as of right now in 2025, January 9th, 2025. This is what their fees are. I say that because 5 years from now it may be different and this video may still be circulating out there. I don't know. But this is, as of right now, these are the fees and what their breakdown is from on their website. This is what. So every item you list is a 20-cent fee. So when you first open your shop, if you list 5 items, each of those 5 items is going to charge you 20 cents, bringing you to $1 in fees before you've even sold anything. So you are in the negative as soon as you list something. Now, it's not a whole lot as soon as you make one sale, depending on what you sell. Hopefully that covers all of your listing fees. So in addition to that, if you list an item that has a multiple quantity, so let's say you have an item with a quantity of 5, when you list that item initially, you get charged 20 cents. If that item sells, it automatically gets relisted again for you and you get charged another 20 cents. So every time your listing renews or gets relisted after something has sold, until it's either sold out or the listing expires, which I think the expiration is 90 days. Somebody correct me on that, or I'll pop it up on the screen if I'm wrong. So anything listed with a multi-quantity, every time it gets relisted, you get an additional 20%, an additional 20 cents charged to your account. On top of that, they have a 6.5% transaction fee, which is essentially Etsy's commission that they make on your listings when it sells. This does not include the taxes paid, but it does include the shipping that is paid by your customer. So if you have an item that's listed for $20 and it sells and it's a $5 fee for shipping, the $25 total that they spend gets a 6.5% transaction fee taken out of it for Etsy's commission. The next fee that is added is a processing fee. It will vary depending on where you are located, what country you're in, what platform you use. But generally speaking, for me in the US, I pay a 3% transaction fee plus 25 cents per transaction. The next fee, and this is something that they have implemented, I want to say they've implemented this fairly recently. I can look up the exact time when it was implemented, but they have a share and save program now. So if you link your items and share, basically copy a link to one of your items or your shop and you share that link elsewhere, so in a Linktree link in your bio, or if you post it to a Facebook group, or if you share the link with like friends and family, anything like that. If a sale is made through the share and save link, you actually get a refund of 4% of the transaction fee. So, and again, the transaction fee does not include the taxes, but essentially you will take the transaction fee from 6.5% down to 1.5% for that one transaction. So this is not like a shop-wide thing. It's whatever link you share and a purchase is made through that link, that is the purchase that will get the 4% refund. And it is an actual refund. It's not taken off the top. So you will still get charged the 6.5% transaction fee, but then later on you get a refund of 4% because it was made through that link. Hopefully that made sense. It's a little bit of a weird system, but I recently made a sale and I was thinking like, oh, when you make a sale through the link, it'll automatically recognize that and it just takes 1.5%, but that's not the case. At least when my sale went through, I still got charged the 6.5%, and then later on I had a line item on my payment account that said refund of share and save refund or whatever, and it gave me the total amount. So it is an actual refund. It's not like it's not off the top, if that makes sense. So these next two are optional. Well, the first one is optional. The second one is optional up until a point in your shop. So Etsy ads is something that you can pay for in addition to, I guess, Etsy ads, you personally have to manually set up and run in your shop, and you can set a budget daily. I have mixed feelings about Etsy ads because unfortunately, if you do not have your listings optimized, paying for Etsy ads is a waste of money, just because if you don't have your listings optimized, it's going out to people and your conversion rate is already going to be super low because you're not being seen by the right people that are looking for your item to buy. So your item may be coming up in searches, but let's just say like somebody, this is a good example for the crochet community. If somebody is looking for a finished crochet plushie and they search for a term that is in a crochet pattern that you sell. So for example, I have a fox pattern. If somebody is looking for a crochet fox plushie, I may have crochet fox plushie somewhere in my Etsy listing, but mine is for a pattern and not a finished item. So my pattern will show up in that search, but the person looking for it is not looking for a pattern. They're looking for a plushie. So my conversion rate is going to go down. I'm really sorry if I'm getting into the weeds, but I want to, like I said, I want to make sure that I'm doing this due diligence and I'm making as much sense and explaining as many things as possible. That's the best way that I can describe Etsy ads. So if you then have your listing optimized and it's showing up in the correct searches and under the correct search terms, paying for Etsy ads can actually be very beneficial because it's going to put your listing to the top of that search. So when people search for your item specifically, your item will pop up and they're more likely to buy it. So you really need well-performing listings without Etsy ads before you start investing in Etsy ads. I'm hoping that makes sense. So I don't recommend Etsy ads unless you already have a well-performing store or well-performing listings that you can specifically target to the correct buyers. But that is that fee, or you set like budgets for that, and then that is obviously going to vary depending on what you set. So I didn't put a percentage or anything in here because I don't know what you may put. The other one is offsite ads. So offsite ads means that Etsy puts your listing specifically out on to the interwebs, so people outside of Etsy can also find your listing. Now again, it sounds like a really, really good idea, but let me just tell you, offsite ads is optional until you hit $10,000 in sales on Etsy. So you do not have to have them turned on. However, if you have them turned on before you hit the $10,000 threshold, the fee is 15% of your sale value, which is very high. So that essentially takes your 6.5 transaction fee percentage and jumps it up to 21.5% on your listing, which can be, if you're like me and you have low cost items, which I sell finished plushies as well as patterns, and I've just started adding stickers and smaller items. So those smaller items, that 21.5% is really, really high. So if you sell over that $10,000 threshold, you can no longer turn off your offsite ads. They are a mandatory, it's a mandatory thing at that point, but they dropped the fee down to 12%, which is still insanely high because that is also in addition to the 6.5%. So you're looking at, what is that, 18.5% fee on top. And I do want to also add that fee for offsite ads is only applied to sales made through that offsite ad. So if somebody clicks on your link through an ad on Google or Bing or wherever it was advertised and they make a purchase, that is when the offsite ad fee will apply. So it's not like if you share your share and save link to somebody on Facebook and they make a purchase, that was not an offsite ad that Etsy was running. That was your share and save link. Hopefully that makes sense. But like I said, that is one of the biggest cons for me, is the fact that their fees do add up. So if you decide to go the Etsy route, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to find an Etsy fee calculator online. There's tons of them. You can just Google Etsy fee calculator. You can type in a price of your item, your cost of goods, so whatever it costs you to make the item, and then you can calculate the fees and the shipping and all of that kind of fun stuff and see exactly how much profit you will make off of that item depending on where it sells. So I highly recommend to run through that as you are pricing your items. Jack your price up, because cover those fees. Do not take the hit on the fees if you don't have to. Well, you shouldn't have to. Don't race to the bottom like a lot of Etsy sellers do. Price it at a price that you would be comfortable making if it were to sell for that price. So, all right, next con. Since Etsy is easier to use, which can be a good thing, but it increases your competition, which I personally have the opinion that there's room on the internet for everybody, because everybody has a different style, a different taste, different prices, different products, all sorts of stuff. But because Etsy is very beginner friendly, it's very easy for people to just start uploading things to sell. It's just very easy. So there's lots and lots and lots and lots of listings to sift through when you do make a search. So that's why SEO is really important. If you can't figure out SEO, it can be quite detrimental to your account. Or to your listings, not your account. The con is that Etsy is constantly making changes to their search algorithm, to their website, to pretty much everything. And sometimes those changes can be significant and can impact search algorithms. And then the last con that I have, and this goes back to the pricing strategy from just a minute ago, is there can be a race to the bottom on Etsy, which can be very detrimental to your business, your profits, and your mental health. I have witnessed a lot of this in the past, and I come across it when I'm trying to price my own items. I price my items fairly high because they are hand crocheted by me. the finished plushies are anyways, and I want to make sure that I am fairly compensated for that work. And sometimes when you search for items on Etsy, you see people selling them for half the price that you want to do. And I am just going to tell you right now to ignore it. Ignore those low prices. Price it how you see fit. You may not get the sales that you were hoping for because your price is higher than somebody else. But at the end of the day, the prices that you do get will be worth your time. Now let's move on to Shopify. So I personally use Shopify for my personal website. It is the hosting platform that I have chosen to go with. Essentially, Shopify is not the actual website. It is a website host. So you have to purchase a domain to create your website. They do give you a domain, but I highly recommend getting a custom domain just to help with that brand awareness and brand recognition. So now we're going to talk about Shopify pros and cons. One of the biggest pros that I have with Shopify is that you can build your own brand recognition, your own website. You can use specific colors. You can upload your logo and make everything personalized to how you want your business to be portrayed, how you want it to be laid out. You can change things up really easily on your homepage to showcase new items, different things like that. You can set up a form for people to fill out so they can join your email list, which is not something you can do with Etsy. So that is like the biggest pro, and it sounds extremely daunting, but the back end of Shopify and their design, you do not have to know code. You essentially can just walk through and click each section, customize it individually, and then make it go live, and everything is done on the coding side in the back end for you. You don't have to do any of that. It can be a little bit clunky to get used to the navigation on the back end, but in general, it's actually very easy and very user-friendly from a website building standpoint. Being able to attach your own domain, which is your website address, like mine is safaristitches.com, you can attach that to your website. It's essentially your own brand. People will go to your link to your website for your business and not to somebody else's, like Etsy, or if you sell on Amazon Handmade, which is not something I've ever done, so I won't get into it, but this is your own. This is your baby, basically. Like, this is yours, and nobody else's. Let's see. It's super easy to find tutorials on it. Like, if you want to do something very specific to your website, it is super, super easy to essentially use YouTube. I use YouTube for literally everything. I'm a pretty visual person. I like to see things and not just read instructions. So YouTube has been my best friend with if I want to add in an additional header or whatever, something like that, something very specific, I can go to YouTube, and most of the time there is a tutorial on how to do it. Another really great pro for Shopify is it really can be used at any stage in your business. So if you're just starting out, you can use Shopify right out of the gate, or if you want to start a Shopify later on in the process, it's really easy to upload things as well. So they have bulk upload. They have a lot of different tools and things that you can utilize as a business owner that will allow you to create your website from scratch at any stage of your business. Similar to Etsy, you can also get discounted shipping through the Shopify platform itself. It's automatically applied when you go to purchase the labels. I personally use Shopify labels whenever I ship anything out through, like if I make a sale on Shopify, I personally will use their labels. I don't go outside of the platform very frequently for shipping labels. All right, so the next pro is they have lower overall fees compared to Etsy. They do have a flat subscription fee, but if you have a very successful website and you're only paying a minimal subscription fee every month, then that's this lower overall fee of it's going to range depending on where you are and what subscription you have, but it's anywhere from 2.4% to 2.9% per transaction plus 30 cents. And again, it's going to depend on which subscription you have for their platform. The next pro that I have written down follows the last one of the lower overall fees. There's no listing fee on Shopify. So if you don't sell anything, you're not paying any fees. There's no 20-cent listing fee on your transactions, obviously, because there's no transactions to put fees on. The only fee that you have is your subscription fee. And I will get more into that when I go through the cons, because the subscription fee can be a con. The next pro, which I always encourage people to try and do, is build an email list. You can collect customer emails on Shopify. You cannot do that on Etsy. You can see customer emails, but you are not supposed to add them to an email list because it can violate privacy. It's a whole thing, so just don't do that. But through Shopify, when people are voluntarily filling out a form and giving you their email address, they are opting into your email list, which is great because it helps with advertising. So if you have a product drop or some big crazy announcement like a huge sale that's coming up, you can send out a mass email to your customers and make them aware of that, versus if you were to post on social media, those customers may not see that. So email lists are a great tool to utilize when you have your own website. The next pro that I have is the Shopify balance account. Essentially, it works like a bank account, and it is FDIC insured, which means that if you have money in this account on their website and something were to happen to Shopify and they had to shut down, it is insured, federally insured, to up to $250,000. This account is FDIC insured, which is very important. Etsy is not. But with this balance account, you can even get a debit card that is attached to this account, so you can keep all of your money separate from your personal account, which is I always recommend is getting a separate account anyways. Doesn't have to be this one, but even with Etsy, I recommend getting a separate bank account for all of the money going in and going out, just to keep it easy on yourself for tax season. I think that's all my pros at the current moment that I have. Okay, now let's get into the Shopify cons that I have. And I will tell you up front, I have 2 less cons on my Shopify list than I do compared to my Etsy list. So if that tells you anything. All right, so the biggest con with Shopify is that you have to drive your own traffic. You are responsible for getting your own leads, getting your own sales, driving people to your website, etc., etc., etc. Because of this, having a social media is very important, because word of mouth when you have your own website is not as easy, because who's going to be sitting there having a conversation and say, oh yeah, safaristitches.com, blah, blah, blah. Like, nobody's going to whip out their phone and immediately go to your website. It's going to be a later thing, be like, oh, what was that website that they said to go to? Like, it's just like a psychology thing. Social media is, even with Etsy, social media is very important, I think, because it can help, especially now that they have the share and save program, where if you bring your own sales, you save on the fees. But I do think social media is extremely, extremely important. The next Shopify con is the flat monthly fee, actually, because that could be a large upfront cost for people just starting out, because you have to pay the fee to be able to, you get like a free trial when you first sign up, but then after that you pay the fee and then you have a month to use it, or what, like, hopefully that makes sense. And then if you don't make any sales, you're in the negative by your subscription fee. So for example, the basic subscription that I have is $39 a month. If I make no sales, I'm in the red $39. That doesn't change regardless. Whereas with Etsy, if you list 5 items for 20 cents each, you're only in the hole for $1. versus $39. Hopefully that makes sense. So let me break down, this is where I'm going to break down the subscriptions for you. So if you are a brand new Shopify user, you've never had a Shopify before, you can actually start your store for $1 for the first month. So I highly recommend taking advantage of that just to even try it out. $1 again is minimal as far as upfront startup costs goes. And then after that, you do choose which one you want to be in before you pay the $1, but you only pay $1. So the lowest subscription that you can get is their basic subscription, which is $39 a month, as I've said. And you can go on their website and see exactly what is included with each subscription level. There are additional things like, so the basic subscription is $39 a month. The next tier is Shopify subscription, which is $105 a month. The next one is the advanced subscription, which is $399 a month. And then your plus edition or plus subscription is $2,300 a month. So it's very far up there. I honestly don't know what is included in the $2,300. I don't know what you would need to do in order to justify that expense. I really don't. I've never considered doing the advanced or the plus. At one time I considered doing the Shopify one at $105, but I think I found that I didn't need it. So again, it depends on what your needs are. You can see a full breakdown of what each subscription level includes and make a decision based on that. But I always use the $1 month. Try it out, play around with it, set it live, see what it looks like, and then go with the basic to start off with. You don't need bells and whistles when you're first starting out. You're still learning the process. You're still learning how to work the website. But if you sign up for a yearly plan, so you pay for a whole year up front, you actually save 25% of the subscription fee. So I just wouldn't do that unless you know you're going to stick around for a while and you know it's going to be successful. But obviously saving the money is good. So the next con I have written down is actually the Shopify balance account, because I'm used to Etsy automatically depositing it into my personal bank account. Like, I didn't really have a need for another bank account. I already have a separate bank account. So that's why this is a con for me personally. I think it's a great benefit to have, especially if you are new and just starting out, is to set up a Shopify balance account. But because I have no need for it, my balance goes to my money goes to the Shopify balance account, and then I have to then manually transfer it out of the balance account into my not my personal account, but my business account that I actually use, because I don't want to manage two business accounts as far as transactions and income and outcome go. Now, is that really necessary? No, but I will say I checked my Shopify balance like a month ago and I had $350 in there from April because I forgot. So that was a really nice surprise. It's just like out of sight, out of mind. So that was a really nice like payday for me. But that's something to consider, is it does automatic, like I don't think there's a way around the Shopify balance account. I think it just automatically goes there. I think you set it up automatically when you create, excuse me, I'm so sorry, when you create the account. Okay. Con number 4 is you are the customer service that is responsible for literally anything that happens. So if you have a package go missing, you're responsible. If a package gets damaged, you're responsible. If your customer doesn't like the item, you're responsible, which you should be responsible for that anyways, regardless of where you sell. But with Etsy, they have their own like policies and their own seller and buyer protection. So there's some leeway there as far as what you are responsible for. And the last con that I have for Shopify is that the basic capabilities of Shopify can potentially be limited with just the subscription They have a lot of functionality within Shopify, and their apps and stuff that you can add that are free have some functionality that can be added to your store. However, if you want some of the bells and whistles, a lot of the apps do cost monthly subscription fees as well on top of the Shopify subscription. So those kinds of things can really add up and add to your overhead costs as far as your website goes. Again, it's going to depend on what you need, what functionality you want out of your website, but it can all add up. That was it. So, as promised, again, I'm going to preface this next segment with the fact that this is my personal opinion. It is based off of my own personal experiences. I'm not sponsored, and I haven't been paid to say anything here in this video. This is purely off the hip type of commentary on all of this. My personal opinion is if you are just starting out, Etsy is going to be your best option. The fees are insane. I am not going to sit here and deny that. Especially if you do not have a social media following. Etsy is a fantastic option because while SEO and optimization of your listings is daunting and can be very difficult to learn, once you get the gist of it, it can be really easy to implement it and pick up on the changes when they are made to Etsy's website. A lot of times they'll announce them, or somebody somewhere will say that there's been a change or whatever. Or you'll notice that there's a change in your statistics on their dashboard. But the fact that the startup costs on Etsy are as low as they are, I always tell people to start there. And that is a controversial opinion. I know there's a lot of people that do not agree with me on that. Now that said, if you have a crazy social media following, absolutely start with Shopify. Like if you are really good at advertising and you're consistent and you know how to drive traffic, start with Shopify. But if you are literally bare bones just starting out, Etsy is 100% the way to go, in my opinion. Of course, while you start your Etsy, focus on your social media, grow your social media. Now, I cannot say anything for social media because my social media skills are garbage. So please don't ask me for advice on social media because I am not good at social media at all. I don't personally like social media. I only have a social media because it is necessary for the success of my business. But generally speaking, I don't like it because I am one of the types of people that sit there and compare myself to other people on that social media. So please take that with a grain of salt as well. But if you don't have social media, or if you're not very good at social media, I do think Etsy is going to be the most cost-effective way. Just please, please, please make sure you utilize the tools that are there for you. The biggest tool being the Etsy fee calculator. Price your items appropriately so that you're making enough money off of them. Consider the offsite ads, even though you can turn them off to start off with. Consider those because once those get turned on, you don't want to have to go back and adjust all your pricing again. But generally speaking, that is my personal opinion. You're fine to disagree with me if you are familiar with both platforms. Again, Shopify is my website host choice. There are lots of other ones out there that will host for you, but I think Shopify is one of the more popular ones that is more widely well known. There's a lot of resources out there for it. If you want to jump in and make a Shopify, that's fantastic. I'm very excited for you, and I hope everybody has the success that they are wishing for. But generally speaking, I do think Etsy is the way to go for a brand spanking new business with no prior experience. And then once you kind of get into it, in all my Etsy orders, I include my Shopify website address. in the packages so people can find me off of Etsy. And I don't see myself ever shutting my Etsy down. I just won't be quite as active over there once I get my website really up and running again. But yeah, that's kind of it for me, you guys. But again, this was like very bare, not really bare bones. I did get into some details, but I know there's a lot of other information out there that should be covered in something like this. So if you have any other extra questions, maybe something that you popped up in your head while I was sitting here talking, please drop them in the comments. I will answer them as they come in. That way everybody gets the answers too. Somebody else may be thinking the same exact question as you. And then if there's enough questions, I will do a second part on Etsy versus Shopify. And in addition to that, if you would like a more in-depth view, I guess, of Etsy or Shopify, make sure to let me know, because I can do video specific or platform specific videos on either one of those. I'd be happy to do that. That one may take me a while though, because I'm gonna have to make sure I'm very thorough. All right, friends, that is going to conclude today's Etsy versus Shopify video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was super informational, super helpful. I hope it gave you some insight into why I chose to run my business the way that I currently do. That's not to say eventually I won't just start exclusively advertising my own website, which is definitely something I think you should strive for as a small business, because you want to have your own space that you can make your own. Like, the ultimate goal for sure, hands down, is to get your own website, whether it's through Shopify or some other hosting program or hosting platform. It doesn't really matter, but as a small business, you should strive to have your own space. But when you're first starting out, it's totally okay to rely on other platforms like Etsy, Amazon Handmade. I don't have any experience with Amazon Handmade, so please don't ask me questions about that, because I don't know. Please, please, please take this stuff with a grain of salt. These are my personal thoughts, my personal experiences. I do personally still sell on Etsy. It makes me the most money. I barely make any sales on my website. Granted, I'm not really pushing my website at the current moment because I'm trying to get ready for market season coming up here, hopefully on February 8th. But eventually, I will move to exclusively pushing my website. I don't think I'll ever close down my Etsy. It will just become something that sits there, and if I make sales, like, I know I'll keep all of my crochet patterns over there. They'll be cheaper over on my website eventually. They're not up there yet, but just because I don't have to pay as many fees over on Shopify. But again, I think the final goal for any small business owner is to have your own space, have your own autonomy over your brand and your website and your items, and being able to customize your website gives you that autonomy over your business. So I do think that should be the end goal. But like I said, when you're first starting out, I do think Etsy is a very, very handy tool to keep in your back pocket. I think it's a great place to start out. Just please Google, literally, just Google Etsy fee calculator, and they use that tool to help you price your items so you're not getting completely shafted by all of the fees, because nobody likes that. Everybody wants to make money. I'm here to help you. If you have any questions, don't forget to ask them in the comments below. I will answer every single question I get in the comments. Please be kind. Please be respectful. If your opinion is different than mine, that's totally fine. I respect everybody's opinions. You're more than welcome to leave your opinion in the comments. But again, be respectful, be kind. Otherwise, you're out of here. Or at least your comments are. But again, I hope this video was super helpful and informal and kind of gave you some insight into why I do the things that I do in my business. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, y'all.